This week, Tesla hit several major milestones. It was their 10th anniversary of the IPO. Their stock price shot past $1,000 a share. Yesterday, they became the most valuable automaker in the world. Their market cap's now bigger than Toyota. This morning, they reported delivery of more than 90,000 vehicles last quarter, way more than analysts were expecting. So since going public over 10 years ago, Tesla has proven to skeptics that an electric vehicle can be viable as a product, as a brand, and as a company. So their success triggered a bunch of other electric and alternative energy vehicle startups seemingly out of nowhere. Companies like Nikola, Plug Power, Workhorse, Arcimoto, Ballard Power, Hyliion. We were planning on talking about these companies last week, but the Dow dropped nearly 1,000 points in a single day, so we pushed the show back to today. 1 week. If we had just stuck with our original plan and invested a little last week, $1,000 in each equally of those 6 companies I just mentioned, we would have already been up 50% in 5 trading days. Hindsight, right? But I didn't buy any of them because they're junky stocks. I mean, Nikola is a company with no products, no revenue, yet somehow investors think they're worth more than Ford because they have a website with pictures of vehicles they might make someday. Most of these other companies are small. Their valuations are in the millions, not billions, but they're getting there. In the past month, stock prices for companies that we're talking about today are already up 100%, 300%, 700%. So today on Dumb Money Live, are these companies complete scams? Is it just hype? Is it Robinhood gamblers, Wall Street bets, or a good old-fashioned tulip mania bubble? Or could one of these companies actually end up being the next Tesla? This is Dumb Money Live with Chris Camillo, Dave Hansen, and Jordan McLean, streaming live on YouTube. We are Dumb Money. Hey there, Dave here along with Chris and Jordan. I feel like today's going to be another one of those days where I'm the bad guy, the devil's advocate, because I know, Chris, you started buying these stocks yesterday. Jordan, you've been deep in the research, and I think these companies are all junk. I mean, prove me wrong.
I don't know that they're all junk. I think there are some that are, have some questionable valuations, but we'll get to those.
I honestly got triggered during Dave's intro. I feel like 15 seconds into the intro, I was not expecting that out of Dave at all. And I literally got triggered. Oh man, this is going to be a good one. And listen, this is an episode you got to stay. I feel like the last week has been like 2 months of time and just stuff happening. Stick around to the end today because I have so much other stuff I want to talk about in addition to this the electrification trade. I mean, we have a couple crazy startups we're talking about. I just have stuff I want to talk about. So stick around to the end. We'll give you an update on our buying an island in the Caribbean, which we're looking at doing here at Dumb Money. All this really wild stuff right now. The Kanye West Gap story. I made some crazy trades this week I want to talk about. All right, we'll do that later.
This is going to be an amazing episode. But if you want to start at the beginning, what is up with Nikola? They started now taking deposits for their Badger truck, which... Yeah, we'll pull up their website. I'll let you see what it looks like. It's kind of what everyone thought that the Tesla pickup should have been instead of that Cybertruck. But have you listened to interviews with their founder, this Trevor Milton guy? He's literally the next P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, but Dave, okay, boomer. Isn't that what they say now? Okay, boomer. Right?
They say okay, boomer. They say okay, Karen, and that's about that's where we've. That's where we've gone as a society.
You got to get with it, Dave, okay? Where Elon has changed the game. Is he the next P.T. Barnum? Maybe, but that's exactly what people want right now. There are no more rules. The P.T. Barnums win right now. Think crazy. Think big. We're going to rock this world. The old man, the old white man, right, that's no longer in control, right? Like you have, and this guy's probably old and white, but you have to think differently. You got to think crazy because Robinhood controls this market. We want to be excited about what we invest in. we want to change the world, right? And we want to be done with the old school, in with the new school, radical changes, radical new companies.
Well, he's doing a good job of being radical. So I saw his little interview the other day hyping the release of his pre-sale for this Badger truck, and I did a little research. So this guy, I don't know what he's done previously, but I do know that the house he was Skyping from is a $32 million house in Utah. And I do know that this stock is just on a tear for apparently no reason. They haven't shipped anything. And when they do everyone wants to be a Steve Jobs with a stage presence and a big show. And Elon tries that, but Elon's just a little awkward, and he would be great if he were just a little more, like, I don't know, relatable, but
are you talking about Elon? Or are you talking about?
I'm saying Elon is a little bit awkward on stage, right? When he does his
a little bit
Steve Jobs attempts.
A little. He is the most awkward person I have. Do you know the reason why I did not invest in Tesla way back when it IPO'd? Because I was so on top of it. I heard Elon speak multiple times. I started research. I was so turned off by him that it was the worst mistake I ever made. I was like, this guy is a nutbag. He is an imbecile. He's probably really smart in some ways, but really dumb in others. And I think
he comes across as like a computer nerd, which I say that as an endearing term, Jordan, because I think you're the biggest computer nerd. I'm a self-admitted nerd, but he really is a genius, but doesn't have like communication skills or something.
But Dave, I'll go back to what he said a few months ago that turned me off again. I had to continue to change the way I think about Tesla and him, because I'm invested in Tesla. I actually bought a little more this morning. I know, crazy, but here's the thing. Elon said that this virus was going to be done with by like April 1st or some crazy thing it was like mid-March. Yeah. We were accelerating, and I don't care what you think about it. There was no way you can scientifically look at the facts and be like, "Oh, this thing's going to be done in 2 weeks." Like we'll have zero. He said something that outlandish, and it was so matter of fact and so idiotic that you have to question everything else that comes out of that guy's mouth. And
you have to question on earnings calls when he has meltdowns. He has a problem with communicating, right?
It's not just communicating.
There's something wrong with him, but there's a lot of things that he gets right.
It's not just communicating. He's just dead wrong on some things. But right now in this world, in 2019, 2020, with what people want and the risks they want to take to move our world forward in the ways they want to move our world forward, Elon is the man, and Tesla is the company. And it's not just Elon and Tesla. It's 30 to 50 other companies that are spinning up right now, probably 500, but we're just seeing the big ones that are able to reverse IPO and these SPACs, right? These are the companies that we're not going to wait. We're going to figure out a way to let the Robinhood people invest in them, to get them funding, to do the crazy stuff that doesn't make any sense right now, but in 10 years, they're going to change the world, and it seems insane now, but these might be the next $100 billion, $500 billion companies, because we're going to digitize the world, we're going to electrify the world, okay? And it has been so difficult for me to change my mindset to give these companies a chance. So I can't wait for this show. I just want to sit back and drink my water and listen to Jordan talk about this stuff, okay? Because I know that Jordan understands the science and better than I do. But before you start talking about it, I want to simplify it for everyone right now. By the way, I want to say this. I did make my decisions in this space. I will disclose them towards the end of this episode, but I do want to clarify what this world looks like at a 30,000 square foot level, because a lot of people didn't spend 30 hours researching this all week, like me, you, and Jordan, right?
Yeah, and for me, I have not made any investments in any of these, and I think they're junky. I do see the possibility that just from a speculation gamble, and the market does crazy things, and there's people buying, so might as well make some money off of it. From that standpoint, I can kind of get behind maybe buying one of these. I don't know. But convince me, and I'm all in.
Okay, let me start very high level, and then we're going to throw it all to Jordan. We'll have a bunch of back and forth here. So we're talking about electrifying the world, which basically getting rid of dirty emissions, dirty fuels. It's a green world, all that stuff, right? So we've been talking about this for a long time, but we're kind of at that tipping point right now when we have the right political tailwinds, the right support in terms of global support from the people, the right support in terms of money, okay, because it's all about the money, okay, because when people don't want to invest in dirty things and they want to invest in clean things, not because they want to make money, but because they want to control what the future of this world looks like. This is like the perfect storm right now that is the ultimate tailwind for things that had needed a big tailwind because they're very expensive, they take a tremendous amount of investment, and they don't always pay off quickly. So today I think we're going to talk about a lot of things, including technology. We're going to talk about hydrogen. We're going to talk about just straight out battery and electrical, right? Just straight electrical. We're going to also talk about natural gas. And we're going to talk about which of these are the winners, which are the losers, how do they work together, which of these companies are focused on which of these areas, and as an investor, how do I make sense of it all, and where are we? Because I honestly believe we're in a very scary place with this industry, but it's like the beginning of the first inning. I think if Tesla was just starting to get into the second inning, the rest of this stuff is just barely starting off in the first inning. So it seems insane, but Tesla seemed insane 4 years ago, okay, guys, at the valuations they were trading at. Actually insane. So let's keep an open mind, all right? So Jordan, my question to you is, we have a lot of stuff happening, right? We have natural gas, we have hydrogen. And by the way, people have been talking about hydrogen for like 200 years. I remember 15, 16 years ago, I went crazy with thinking about these hydrogen investments, and like at the end of the day I was like, this stuff is so cool and groundbreaking, but I crunched the numbers, I was like, it just doesn't work. Like the numbers don't work. But with the right tailwind, maybe it can work, right? And the right amount of money, maybe it can work now, okay? So when you think about this, Jordan, hydrogen versus nat gas versus just straight up Tesla style electric, right? Let's talk about which of the let's talk about the companies we're going to talk about today. Let's just throw them out there first and talk about where they sit.
So if you look at the three truck manufacturers that I think are getting the most attention right now.
When you say truck, you need to explain for everyone.
Oh, I'm talking like
I didn't mention that part. Right?
Yeah, we're talking big rigs. We're talking semi trucks. We're talking long haul transportation.
Why are we talking about trucks? I know why, but like, why is this so important that we're talking about trucks right now? Because it's like
here's one reason
like the gateway.
Yeah, so here's one reason it's important. If you look at there's all sorts of regulations right now. California passed recently some regulations that you're going to have zero emission long haul trucking through major metro areas recently, and so that's something that people are going to have to deal with, right? And you've got some solutions out there. We obviously know about Nikola. We know that they're at best probably 3 years out from their solution. Tesla.
Hold on, Jordan. But what is Nikola? Let's take it top down. We have to explain.
Well, let's talk about all the different types of things you can do first, and then we can assign who does what to a company. So there's traditionally these trucks have all been diesel trucks. You get really good torque, terrible for the environment, lots of issues there that people are trying to solve. I think the second cleanest thing was like a direct natural gas engine, which there are some trucks out there that are supplied with natural gas engines. The problem is that they're not torquey enough to really haul heavy loads, but they do cut down on some of the emissions, and it's kind of a solution.
And Jordan, don't they
where,
last longer? Don't they go further? Right? What are the advantages to nat gas?
It's really about emissions and cost. But you know, as far as like efficiency is concerned, you can't tow as much, right? And truckers hate them, and so you actually have turnover problems at places that employ natural gas, like straight natural gas engines right now, because the truckers feel almost stranded out on the road with this underpowered engine, and so it's kind of an issue. So that's kind of the state of things. You know,
but Jordan, don't they have nat gas stations so you can actually fill your trucks with nat gas?
Yeah,
and your trucks
100%. You can buy diesel, you can buy nat gas, and so that's why they're incumbent. That's why they're out there. Now
real quick, Jordan, I have a question. Is nat gas as clean though? Because I don't really understand this.
Yeah, 100%. It's pretty
so
clean.
It's totally clean.
It's not totally clean, no, but it's like if I were to just throw a number out there, I would say it's probably 80% cleaner than a diesel engine, especially in some of the really harmful things like nitric oxide that gets spit out. So it's a better.
Do you think it would pass the new emission standards that California is setting out there? Do you have any idea?
Well, I mean, look, it's more complicated than that, right? But no, probably not for zero emission, because it does have some emissions, and so that's where you've got opportunity, right? And so that's where Tesla has opportunity. It's where Nikola has opportunity. And so some of the new technologies that are out there is obviously one is all battery, to just go a full battery. You talked about hydrogen fuel cells, so that's another alternative that, basically you spit out water vapor. So that's a zero emission vehicle right there. And then there's another company that, I've been looking at that's kind of coming up with some hybrid solutions to where they can take a diesel engine and buffer it with a battery, have, kind of gain some efficiencies that way. Their plans further on down the line are to have a bigger battery, not as big as a Tesla battery. We're not going to run 400 miles on a single battery. They're going to run maybe 25 miles on a single battery. So you can make it through an LA with zero emissions, but you combine that with a CNG electric power plant that would then constantly be supplying the battery. When when you're at highway speeds, you could be powering you're powering your engine and trickle charging your battery, but when you're in like a stop and go type environment, you use that battery to get torque to be able to get you up to speed faster, and so that's more of a hybrid solution. That one's interesting to me because what they're trying to do, and again we're kind of back and forth between companies and solutions, but that solution would be like a powertrain company that just goes and works with a Freightliner, with a Volvo that's already making these long haul trucks. And so, that's I feel like that we're closer to that happening, right? Because at that point, it's just Volvo contracting a new engine. So instead of buying a Cummins diesel engine, they're going to buy a whole power plant from a company, and they could probably get these things on the road pretty quickly. The downside of this is obviously, it's not 100% electric, but you do get the benefit of using these CNG stations, or since they also have a hybrid diesel, you get to use diesel stations to be able to fill up more traditionally than you would with Tesla and their batteries. So that's where we get into what companies do what, right? And obviously Tesla is 100% battery. The latest plans that I've seen is you're looking at like a 400-mile range on that Tesla truck, which is great. They're trying to make it to where you can do two hyperchargers, or whatever they're called, the mega charger or whatever, two of them at the same time. You might be able to get that down to a 30-minute refill to get you 400 miles of range, which at that point you're like, it's not as fast as filling up a diesel tank, but maybe that's doable because it gives the truck driver a chance to break. And 400 miles, I mean, that's a full day of driving anyways. So that's at that point, it's more viable than I would think. But that's still the battery's downside, is that you don't get to fill that thing up as quickly as you do, LNG or a diesel tank. Now we also got Nikola, and Nikola is 100% hydrogen fuel cell. And so the advantage of the hydrogen fuel cell is you get a little bit more energy density than you get out of a battery, and so you don't have the weight that's associated with the battery. And you also get like 5 to 10 minute fill-up times, which is really nice when you're talking about needing to refill during the day. The downside is that they're not as available as a diesel, station. You're talking tens to hundreds of fill-up stations for hydrogen fuel cells throughout the country, where diesel is pretty much everywhere. So there you got some infrastructure challenges there. The good news is that Nikola's, they're 3 years out from even maybe producing a working model. So, you've got some time to deal with all this stuff. But it still is an issue. The other issue with the hydrogen fuel cells is you get like a 30% efficiency from producing the electricity to actually being consumed and hitting the wheels on the backside of that semi, to where you're at like 80 to 90% or 70 to 90% from a battery standpoint. So, what's better for the environment? I think, there's the battery obviously is pretty tough on the environment to make. But once you've made that battery, then as you use it, it's, pretty clean. The hydrogen fuel cell, depending on how you're producing your hydrogen, a lot of times that's a natural gas process. So then you get the pollution from natural gas. There's also some hydrolysis ways you get it out of water. So, that's an energy intensive, way. So, which one's better for the environment? Which one's more efficient from an electrical standpoint? You can debate those two things. Now, that third option that I was talking about, we've got this, Hyliion is the company, and they're a private company right now. There's an acquisition, a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company set up to acquire them, SHLL, Tortoise Acquisition Corp. And so that's an interesting opportunity. They haven't run away in their share price yet. You're looking at like a $700 million valuation, which I think it seems somewhat reasonable. Now they're not as big and grand. They're not making the entire truck. Like I said, they're just making the drivetrain. But they're also they're trying to hit this from all sides and saying, we're gonna, depending on what your needs are and where we are in the technology cycle, we've got something that can fit, every single use case. They're gonna have, the diesel hybrid, a CNG hybrid for CNG engines. They're gonna do a CNG turbine electric battery option, which I think is a really good option. And we've got some slides to show what those things look like. And then they're also working on a hydrogen fuel cell option in the future. And they're probably as close or closer than Nikola would actually be delivering that. But again, with the fuel cell, you've got the issues of refilling. So with that, I feel like that's kind of at least from the truck standpoint, that's the landscape.
So Jordan, and by the way, I do want to say in the research, and I get this is not really my background, but in all the research I did this week, because I was trying to figure out which is better, straight electric, hydrogen, or the natural gas stuff that Hyliion, this company you were just talking about, Hyliion, is working on. And I think that each of those industry sectors has a case that they are the best. Because hydrogen is more expensive, but at the same time, batteries consume a tremendous amount of stuff to make the battery. You can't say it enough. So when you look at the graphs of how much they actually emit in the making of the battery versus the using of the battery versus the making of the hydrogen, and the use case over a 10 or 15 year period, they're all pretty similar, right? And they all have advantages and disadvantages. Some have more cost on the upfront. Some have more cost on the back end. Listen, Tesla has its issues. Did you watch that video or any of that video that was in our Discord channel? It was like a 2-hour interview with that battery guy from Tesla, talking about how difficult the battery industry is going to have issues the next decade.
Shortages of lithium or something?
Well, they're pushing the technology so far, and there's just like diminishing returns on that technology, and it's fast. that was the most fascinating video. I don't have it in front of me, but if you guys are in the Discord channel, someone recommended watching it. It's an amazing interview with a guy that worked for a young kid, Stanford kid, who worked for the materials acquisition department at Tesla, to where all he looked at was these kind of materials that they use to source organic materials for battery production, right? And they're trying to really push the limits on lithium battery production, like not this year, but where's it going to go in 5 years? Where's it going to go in 10 years? How are we going to get ahead of the curve? And you realize that industry is really, it's just fascinating. It's not simple, and it's not easy. And they can't.
Well, it's really not about the amount of raw material, because I mean, lithium is actually pretty available.
No, it's efficiency.
The problem is getting it. Well, it's efficiency. It's also getting it, to a state to where it's usable, right? Because it's a big process. It's not like you just take lithium and to go.
Yeah, no, and also Jordan, I think one of the takeaways I got was really interesting. He thinks that 10 years from now, you will buy your car and you will pick your battery technology, meaning like if you're the type of person that puts 5 miles a day on your car, you might pick a very different battery technology than if you're putting 100 miles a day on your car. If you're driving in a cold climate versus a hot climate, those are two very different battery technologies, where one battery technology does better in a hot climate than a cold climate, right? So it's just fascinating how he thinks this is all going to play out over the next decade. But what I'm saying is there's not an obvious winner. The hydrogen companies like, let's see, Plug. I don't know if you talked about Plug, but Plug is a hydrogen-based company, but Plug is more focused on, like, they do the forklifts, right, for Amazon and Walmart. Mm-hmm. They're trying to transfer all of those forklifts to hydrogen power, which makes a tremendous amount of sense. There's so much equipment. This is a multi-trillion-dollar annual industry between commercial trucking and just commercial industrial equipment that needs to be powered. Guys, we are talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry that is going to be converting away from fossil fuels over the next decade. It's a huge opportunity. Yeah. And there is room for all the players, from natural gas to hydrogen cells to electrification. But one thing I thought was really interesting is, Plug, PLUG is the symbol, Plug Power, they actually have the largest network of hydrogen powering, systems in the world, but that's because they're powering a lot of these smaller, not small appliances, but smaller things. And I think Nikola, they have to make a multi-billion-dollar investment. I even saw one slide that claimed that it was going to be it's going to take $7 billion just to build out that national hydrogen gas station, right? Like supply chain nationally. Nikola has to do that the same way Tesla was doing that, right?
Yeah, the same way they had to build their power stations across the country. You're going to have hydrogen stations across the country. And I saw in the chat, are there lithium mining stocks that we should be looking at too? I mean,
well, yeah, there are. So I found a few. There is, and they're both NYSE, I think. You've got ALB, which is Albemarle, and then you've got a SQM, which is, I think that's actually the Chilean company that does the, those, where they like dry out water and extract the salts in these huge tanks. Mm-hmm. SQM and ALB are two tickers that you can look at for the actual materials. But as far as Plug is concerned, and I agree with Chris, so they do make, the nice thing about, working with like a Walmart and an Amazon is exactly where the hydrogen fuel needs to go, and so you can just ship it there. It's very easy to do. They're not having to worry about this whole, system. That I think it's also it's a decent value. I mean, it's a $3 billion company. They do about they're $250 million a year, and so you're looking at a 10x. If you're going to buy that. if you're going to buy that stock. So 10x revenue. So that's a growth company. But they've said that they're wanting to get to about $1 billion of revenue by 2024. And so their plans are to do that basically all with, or maybe like 90% with the Amazon Walmart partnerships that they're doing. But they're also working with DHL and FedEx to make to basically convert some of their trucks over to be this fuel cell vehicle as well.
Yeah. So right now, there's a lot
really
of
small tests, like 100 vehicle tests that are just in certain regions. I think one's in Albany, one's in Europe somewhere. But they're trying to push some of these, and that's I feel like it kind of fits with their MO in that they're not trying to work on the long haul trucking, right? They're looking at these last mile delivery trucks like DHL and FedEx, like basically what goes out and delivers things to your home or to a small business from their distribution center. And so I think I think they're smart in that they're doing things that they know aren't way too big. They can have a handle on them, and they've got a pretty good guarantee of success. So I might be a Plug buyer, but you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay about 10 times revenue right now.
So also Plug's like the opposite, Nikola. They're very focused on profitability.
Yep.
If you Nikola's at one end of the spectrum, Nikola's trying to be the next Tesla, no doubt about it. They are trying to be the Tesla of industry, right? The Tesla of commercial trucks. And Dave, I think you might have hopped off there for a minute, but the commercial trucking market is over $1 trillion market annually. And if you add the industrial equipment market, tractors and forklifts and all of that world, we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar market. It is huge, okay? Huge. And Plug just sits at the opposite end of that spectrum. They're being very conservative for the way that they're growing that company. I think it's a fascinating business model. Their competitor, one of their competitors, is a pure electrical version of their company called Workhorse. Have you do any work on Workhorse?
Yeah, I checked out Workhorse.
They're operating. I mean, they're right there. They have their unit. It's a very cool company. Workhorse, they're trying to go in with just straight electric, in a straight electric product for that last mile delivery. They have their truck.
Yeah, so they've got their delivery vans are 100-mile range, which seems, I don't know how many miles these last mile delivery vans go, but does 100 miles sounds like it might work.
Yeah.
So 100-mile range, you're looking at a company with a $1.4 billion market cap that did 81 grand last quarter. So I mean, you're talking you need some growth, right? I think they estimate they're looking to grow maybe $250,000 in revenue next quarter is what they're. I don't know if they're guiding it or if that's what what the estimates are, but I mean you're paying pretty handily for this company at this point. So I don't know if I'm going to pay that to get in here, but I think it's a decent idea. I like that last mile, and that's what Plug's doing. Is they're doing the last mile delivery. They're just doing conversions instead of a whole truck.
And what is the current market for the last mile? Is it primarily natural gas? Is it diesel? What is the current technology for the delivery? What is it? My Amazon Prime van that's in front of my house twice a day. What is that?
Those are gas.
A lot of them use natural gas. Wait, what you're saying? Are you saying
gas or gasoline?
Or just?
I thought they were just straight up gasoline. I'm not 100% sure. I do know that that's one of the things Amazon would like to have, a pure electric last mile delivery van. I think they're working on it with Rivian, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes, they are. Dave, right now it's a combination of gas or in some cases nat gas. I know that they do have these nat gas trucks. I've seen them. Or just
I had a Hertz truck pull up the other day and drop off Amazon packages, and I think that was a gasoline truck. I don't know if they're buying trucks from Hertz, or if they're renting them. But
maybe. Listen, dude. There's no way. I have racked my brain this week to try to figure out if there was a clear winner and loser between those three technologies, and it is too soon. It is too soon.
Think they're trade-offs. The only and I think that Tesla's really solved the time to fill up, a battery basically. If you could get that 30-minute fill up time for this enormous battery that powers a semi, I think that's pretty amazing, right? Now, the only issue left is that it's pretty darn heavy, right? And so, Dave, why don't you pull up that slide that compared the three technologies? It's a Hyliion investors deck, but I think it's worth looking at just to see, kind of how people are framing the costs on all this stuff, right? How much does stuff cost? And if you look at the Tesla, basically the weight is kind of robbing some of the carrying capacity, right? Because it weighs so much, you can tow less, and so that's maybe a small issue here. They're basically saying that it robs about 140 grand of revenue over a 7-year period of things that you can tow with that Tesla truck, just on average. And again, this is since it's Hyliion's investment deck, it's probably weighted a little bit in their favor. The other issue that I've got with this deck, and the only reason that I haven't bought the Hyliion stock, the SHLL Tortoise Acquisition Corp yet, is because I see a small issue in their claims. With this ERX, they've got this huge savings, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could save, or I'm paying like almost half of what I would be paying to run my diesel truck with the total cost of ownership over a 7-year period by looking at this. But it's based on $1 natural gas gallon equivalent, which is less than half of what the current market rate is and has been for the last decade.
That's insane. How could they do that?
It's insane. I have no idea. And so I emailed their investor relations, and I have not heard back. But I will let you know when I've heard, if I do hear back, because that's literally the only way that I can. Because are they being intentionally misleading? Was it a mistake? Because that's basically inflating their use case here. I mean, but even at 250, you still have a savings. It's just not quite as dramatic. Like they're showing on
Jordan, the difference between me and you is I bought a bunch of this stock, and I'll sell it if it comes back after you find that information, right?
Yeah,
but
I very
buy
quick
first.
to buy.
It's an issue. Now you still get a savings, right? You still, even at 250, which is a little bit more. You can probably, if you're a big customer, maybe $2 a gallon equivalent is what you'd be paying for natural gas for CNG or RNG, which is renewable.
So let me just throw this out there right now. I had a great talk this morning with my neighborhood oil and gas and energy guy. Okay, Barry. He's the guy that I've talked about. He's the guy that kind of got me into ET, which I've since sold because energy transfer, because I didn't have time to fully research it. He has very strong opinions on how the energy market is going to play out over the next 5 to 10 years. Very strong opinions. This is all he does, especially with nat gas. He offered today to be a special guest on our show. We're going to have an energy show here at Dumb Money because it's not our world, but it's Barry's world, and he does not manage a fund. He is not biased. He's not a talking head. This is all he does. This is his world. So he's going to come on. I think maybe we'll do something next week. We'll do, because a lot of what he's looking at all these companies, but he's looking at them in a slightly different way because he has feelings on the degree to which natural gas is going to go up, right, in the near to medium term future, and oil prices and how that's going to impact a lot of these factors that we're looking at, right, in terms of efficiencies. So we'll have him on the show in the next couple of weeks. So look forward to that. But we talked about Plug. I like Plug. I think they're in a really nice niche, and it doesn't seem like they have a tremendous amount of competition with their client base. And what they've been doing at Plug, which I think is really fascinating, is they're moving up the supply chain. They acquired a couple companies that are in the business of converting natural gas and other elements to hydrogen, right? To these hydrogen cells. So they're moving up the supply chain, which is going to dramatically decrease their cost of producing these hydrogen cell batteries, right, that they need, or whatever they call them, these hydrogen cell units that power their equipment. And they said that they did that because one of their marquee clients, basically Amazon or Walmart, has been pushing them to do that, right? So I think they're really in a nice sweet spot where they have really stable clients that they're highly strategic with. They understand this world. They are growing at the right rate. I think it's a fascinating company. Well, let me just say it right now.
They're a real company with actual sales. They've been around for a while, since
not just
97.
sales, Dave. They've got like a good track record of sales growth also, and some achievable revenue goals over the next 4 to 5 years. It is a little bit of a weird company.
But if you go back to their beginning, the stock just completely took a nosedive. But here in the past year,
so they IPO'd in like 99 or something like that, and their stock price went all the way up to like $150 and then crashed. Basically, it was a huge speculation on hydrogen fuel.
Yeah, they were ahead of the game on hydrogen, and now we're all hyped on hydrogen again.
Right.
That is the last time I researched this space, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on with hydrogen? Is hydrogen the future? For those of y'all that are too young to have been around back in 99, 2000, early 2000s, to remember what happened, there was a massive movement that hydrogen was going to take over the world. And Plug was a big part of that movement. And to see this come around again 20 years later is kind of scary on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a different environment. It's a very different environment now than it was back in 99, 2000. And I find it fascinating that Plug is still around. They're still doing their thing. And now we have these massive tailwinds that I feel this could be the time. This really could be the time for them. So listen, I'll tell you my investing strategy based on everything we've talked about. We have Nikola. They are completely whacked out. They have like one order basically from GM or someone, right, for 5,000 units that can be canceled.
A cancelable order.
Time.
Yeah, that is
anytime.
That's like saying that I am a permanent customer of my cell phone provider. It's cancelable.
Yeah.
Hey, I do want to clear something up real quick. So I saw JMac Investing just said that fleets can get CNG at about $1, and that's not unreasonable.
Okay.
And so I think that's good to know. That's just since I'm not in the industry, I wouldn't know that. I just, kind of did a quick search for what retail prices are on natural gas. But I think he said $1.72, but I think either he or somebody else said that the fleet price could be closer to $1. Yeah, JMac. Yep. So I appreciate that insight because that makes me a little bit more comfortable with that deck now.
And that's what's great about doing this. I rely on you to do all this research for me, and you can also now turn to our people who are watching and communicating with us through these chats and through the message, through the
while we're doing
comments.
A live video, we're getting to verify, numbers that are put on an investor deck. It's great.
And we'll be in Discord later today. So that's pretty cool. Now, when you were talking about hydrogen, though, this is something that Jordan also asked me to pull up. In addition to having that deck ready to go, is the last time. You don't have any idea how old Chris is, but here's the last time Chris was researching hydrogen technology.
Mike, it's bursting into flames, and this is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. 400 or 500 feet into the sky, and it's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. It's smoke and it's flames now. Boy, this is the worst thing I've ever witnessed. Oh, the humanity.
Years, right?
No, look, they weren't trying to use it as a combustion. They were utilizing it because it's very lightweight.
Okay, but all right. Can I get back to Nikola? Because Nikola is so controversial, right? They a few years ago they presented their truck at a big show. Bloomberg recently came out with an article that said when they presented that truck, it didn't even have a drivetrain in it. The CEO came back and now he's arguing that. He's like, yeah, we did. We just took it out for the show. But the bottom line is Nikola, they do have, I think, 5,000 pre-orders, I think it is, versus 500 pre-orders for the Tesla rig. Okay, so they have 10x the pre-orders that Tesla has, but it can be canceled at any time. And the bottom line is it's years away, realistically. Yeah. And if you look at their roadmap, Nikola's roadmap on actually starting to scale out their technology in any real way is like 8 years down the road. It's like 2028 before they really start to ramp up. Now, you could look at that as a terrible thing, or you could look at that as an amazing thing, because you can't discredit them, because you can't disprove what they're capable of doing is when what they're going to do is like 8 years down the road, right? They're like,
yeah, look,
no,
I mean,
I
think
do great things in 8 years.
Look, I have no, I don't think that they're a sham. I don't think that they're a fraud. I think that they're, they're just early, right? And so I think there's too much time risk in this thing to be paying,
I think that their
Ford motor price for Nikola, I think, is crazy. But do I think it's a sham? No. I mean, I think they've got a roadmap, and I think people have just gone nuts buying the stock.
I don't think they're an intentional scam, although I do think they're major promoters, and they are happy that investors are pumping up their stock without any actual rationale. And
but Dave, that's the new way.
I know.
Like Elon is a promoter. Of course they're a promoter. You have to be a promoter in 2020. You got to be like Elon.
Have you reserved your Badger yet?
You have nothing to lose and everything to gain right now by being a promoter. Remember the Gann conference call when the CEO called it a rocket ship? He literally calls his own company get on the Gann rocket ship during his first ever public earnings call. That was insane 5 years ago. Now it's expected. It's needed. In fact, on that note, Dave, time out.
I'm just now looking at this website. The Badger truck has the honey package, the honey Badger. What is going on here? This is a fake company. There's no way that's real. The Predator package, the Instinct package.
Somebody else just brought up a point that I wanted to make, and the line just went away, so I didn't get to see who said it, but I agree. Nikola could tank when the warrants are able to be exercised. So that's a potential issue.
The CEO, or I don't even think he's CEO anymore, the promoter, Mr. Milton, he's selling his stock as it's going up.
Right. Yep.
So I mean, it's not a company that I want.
Hey, there's a lot of reasons to sell stock, Dave. Is that the guy with the $30 million house in Arizona? Maybe he wants a new yacht or a new jet plane to take him around the world to help promote this thing and raise more money in the future, so he can build out. And he
wants Robinhood investors watching this show to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's fine. That's fine, because if whatever Robinhood investors decide to pay for, ultimately the institutions might end up following. Then he gets his $10 billion. Then he builds out his national network of hydrogen cell fuel stations. The next thing you know, we have a company worth $100 billion. He's the next Tesla, right? So I
did look to see where he made his billions. He was the founder of D-Hybrid, which was a recalibrated diesel engines to run off natural gas. After that, he founded a company called, I guess that was a, I can't even tell, but a natural gas storage technology company, which was acquired by Worthington Industries. So he's been pumping and dumping companies for a while now.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that in 2020, right? No. But the thing is, you have to do that right now if you want to have a crazy company that's going to do huge things, that's going to change the world. You have to sell the future. You have to be the ambassador for that to get the billions to tens of billions in funding. Elon does it all the time. He's set the template. He's proof that it works, because these problems can be fixed with money, okay? The building out a national network of hydrogen stations around the country, do you know what fixes that problem? Money, okay? So if this guy
Yeah.
can get the money, then he gets in the lead position, the pole position, and then all of a sudden the financial engineering of the scam turns into something real, okay? Potentially, right? And then you
Yes,
have listen.
yes, you
Elon
could,
has
it
done-
could
I'm
go
just
that
gonna
way.
ask
But what
one
happened with
question.
Nikola was
Did
they
you
never
buy-
even went through the channels of becoming a public company. They just were one of these special purpose acquisition shell companies, just like the other one you're talking about, the
Yeah, just like Fortis, yeah.
Hyliion.
Dave,
Hyliion?
so was
Hyliion?
Gann. So was Gann. So was Gann. This is
I
how
know.
companies go public now. This is how every IPO is going to be from now on. Who wants to go through the process of an IPO when you could just do this? It works.
Can we
so
just start
much
some of
better.
these shell companies? Just have a bunch of public tickers that we can then sell to the next scam company that wants to go public?
All you have to do is raise a blank check company. You get a blank check in funding. That's really simple. We can have the dumb money, blank check, SPAC, right? And then we can go out and figure out what company we want to. You know what a company I want to take public this week? And then we could spin them out and then close them down in a year. There is. Hold on, I have this marked down. Did you see the notes I've been putting in our Discord channel about roller skates? Okay.
You told me there was a TikTok phenomenon going on with roller skates, and every roller skate is sold out.
Every roller skate in the world is sold out, pretty much, more or less. Now, so here's the deal. TikTok, there's a TikTok trend right now with these people going around and roller skating. Because what else do you have to do during the pandemic? You roller skate, right? It's become a really trendy thing to do. So now every kid in the world wants a pair of roller skates so they can make their own TikTok videos on roller skating. So there's only a couple roller skate companies that are like the cool ones, like that make really cool, awesome roller skates. One of them is called Impala, okay? Impala roller skates are badass. They're awesome, dude. They're awesome. Anyway, Impala roller skates are owned by an Australian company called Globe International. Globe International makes kind of like surf attire and skateboards and skateboard attire out of Australia. It was started up by like three brothers. It's a tiny little company. They are publicly traded. Guess what their market cap is? $45 million, okay? They trade for like $1 a share in Australia. I could barely find the company. The roller skating division, Impala, very cool company. They're located out of Southern California, super slick. I bet you we can buy that company tomorrow for $2 million, okay? So we can buy them, set it up in one of these SPACs, okay? And we could IPO a pure play roller skating company next week, all right, in the middle of the biggest roller skating boom in American history. It's not even American history. TikTok is global. Roller skates are so hot. You know what Impala needs? Impala needs $200 million to ramp up their manufacturing of roller skates to meet the demand for the rest of this year. I bet you we could make $100 million selling roller skates if we could just infuse capital into an Impala through a reverse IPO that we will do through a blank check company. That is the new way. Who has time to wait for all the stupid stuff you got to do to IPO a company? We can make that, sell $100 million of roller skates this year. Maybe the trend goes to 2021. Maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't,
or maybe it ends next week, and then we just wasted a bunch of time.
But that's the new way to think. I know it's crazy, but you got to think faster, quicker, more aggressive, right? Like you need that money. You need that.
Look, I don't have any problem with the SPAC. I think that the problem with Nikola was not how they went public. The problem is that it's just overhyped. It's way too expensive for me to invest in. Chris, did you buy any Nikola? And then when you tell me no, we can stop talking about them and talk about all the good companies out there that we could be investing in.
Okay. So let me tell you what I bought. In general, all you need to know is that you know what? I did. Oh yeah. Here's what I did. Yes, I did buy Nikola. I bought.
Where did you buy it? You may have lost money because it's been going down the last couple days.
I don't care. And I'll tell you why. I bought all the companies, okay? Yeah. I bought Nikola. I bought what's the one with an H? We were talking about all show. Hyliion. I bought Plug. Nikola. Here's the thing about Nikola. I wanted to have some equity, but I didn't want to like throw it all on the line because I am a little nervous about this whole warrant situation. I spent an hour just trying to figure out if the warrants were better than the equity, what's going to happen when the warrants convert, what are all the ways they can convert. They can do a cashless transaction to where you would need to short the stock if you own the warrants, but the price, you can't really short the stock because there's no short shares available.
There's no shorts.
It was so complex, and then when they send all these shares on the market, there's now going to be a ton more shares to short. I actually have no idea what's going to happen to the financial engineering of Nikola over the next 60, 90 days. So I bought some call options. It didn't cost me a lot of money. I feel like I'm participating in Nikola just in case I get it wrong and this thing does continue to go up. But if it doesn't, I don't care. I would be happy to have Nikola come down 40%, 30, 40%, so I can actually build an equity stake at a more reasonable valuation. But I bought Workhorse. I bought Plug. I bought the helium company you talked about, and I own Nikola. I want to have a little bit of all of them, and here's why. Even though I spent probably 20, 30 hours on this stuff since last week, by the time I was done with all my research, I had more questions than answers. There's no definitive answer here. I do not know who the winner is going to be in this space. I don't know who the loser is going to be. I have a feeling that, and we're not going to get too into politics right now, but I'm going to tell you something. When we get closer to November, when we get to August and September and October, there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of dumb money episodes on elections and election trades, okay? Because we could have a radical shift in winners and losers if we think that the Democrats actually could take the election and also pull 3 seats in the Senate and have all 3 houses. That is a game changer. That is a game changer. It's going to open up so many opportunities for investors. And I think if something like that happens, I think all the companies in this space are just going to be winners because the tailwinds will get so strong politically, right? With subsidies and political subsidies. My goodness, I just want to be in this space because, God, this space, these companies could all be $50, $100 billion companies 5 to 10 years from now, right?
Yeah.
And I want to have listen, I know they're risky. I know it's crazy right now, but it's exciting. And in the same way that Tesla was exciting 4 years ago, but it didn't make sense. Like there was
I don't think you need to buy all this stuff. I think you can declare winners right now, and I think we all know who they're going to be. Well, at least I think I know who they're going to be. I think Tesla's going to be a winner, right? No, obviously they're already a winner
today too. I bought more.
I'm gonna buy some, even though it's crazy expensive. I have to hold my nose and do it, and then I'm gonna buy Hyliion, this SHLL, the SPAC, because I feel like all these incumbents, all the Volvo, Freightliner, all these guys that are out making trucks right now already have relationships with these different truckers. They want to get that edge that Tesla has, and they can do it by just buying a drivetrain that's already out on the road, and has plans to get better and better and better. And so I think you get those names that you're used to seeing. These truckers are familiar with these names, and so they can just get the compliant, better, more efficient powertrain in a truck that they already love. And so I think those two look like really good winners in this space to me. And then obviously Plug, I think I'll probably buy some just because it makes perfect sense. Somebody mentioned it's a little bit of a risk to only have 2 big customers, but I don't see those going anywhere. And also, I mean, they're all expanding. They're trying to get more of their forklifts converted. And also they're trying to diversify. They're working with DHL. They're working with FedEx to try to do some last mile delivery also. And so I see if I'm going to buy 3 things today, those are probably going to be the 3.
So,
but Jordan,
Plug,
why
Tesla.
not think big? Why not think big Nikola? Why not think big Nikola?
I just think the price is out of control.
Well, what if the price comes down a little bit?
Yeah, I'd buy it at $30.
If the price goes down, it's because investors realized that this gravy train is over and they're dumping their stock. The Wall Street bettors have moved on. They've moved to Plug or to whatever, to hopefully Tesla.
So it's risk reward, right? I mean, listen, Nikola is got to be, it's a super risky play, but the more attention Nikola gets, as long as they don't have any fraud stuff that comes out. That's what you got to worry about, right? A company like Nikola, they're living on the edge, the same way that someone else lives on the edge, Elon Musk. Okay, so they live on the edge. They're probably doing all kinds of wacky things the same way that Elon does, all right? And at the same time, sometimes that will backfire on you. But if it doesn't backfire, if you capture the attention of the new generation of investors and they missed out on Tesla at 20-30 billion, that's now, what is Tesla valued at now, Jordan? What do you know? What's it at?
Wait, what's the value of Tesla?
Yeah, what's the value today?
230, 220,
230, right? You could basically invest in the Tesla of commercial and industrial and commercial trucking globally, $1 trillion industry, when the reality is, who knows? I mean, the automotive industry, who knows what's going to happen with that the next 10, 15, 20 years? Does everyone need to be driving a car even, right? And I know Tesla's way bigger than that. Tesla's battery tech, their engineering, right? I get that. But Nikola is looking at an industry that, quite honestly, isn't going anywhere, okay?
So just to give a snapshot, of where these market caps are, though. Nikola, their market cap is today $22 billion, $22.6 billion. Ford is only $24 billion. So yeah, they're going back and forth, but Ford actually sells something, and Nikola just takes pre-orders for something they might come out with in 2022.
Yeah,
right?
I'd rather talk about the market cap of Tesla, because that's the one where I think we can get some more insight into this. So if you look at their market cap, about
Tesla's
the same,
market
maybe
cap
slightly more.
It's 225.
Slightly more than Toyota. The difference is
no, it's actually rocketed past there. So Toyota right now is at 175, and Tesla's at 225.
So what's the difference in? So how many? What percentage of vehicles does Tesla make compared to Toyota? Do you know the answer?
I do not know how many vehicles.
So 5% is it. So like less than 500,000 vehicles a year compared to 10 million vehicles a year out of. And so that, I mean, look, you're just paying a lot of money, and I get that they're a growth stock, right? If you look at their on a revenue basis, which is what $26 billion, it's a 10x, right? Which we just said that Plug's a 10x also. And so if you're looking at like a growth technology stock, a 10x revenue. I mean, it's not nuts. It's high, but it's not, it's not nuts. As long as you continue to get that growth. The problem is that they fulfilled 90,000 vehicles this quarter.
Yep.
Last year, same quarter, about 90,000 also. And so you're not really seeing that growth out of Tesla. It's a little bit unfair because they had to shut their plant down. But I'm just saying the growth really isn't there to pay that multiple. So I have a hard time paying that much money for it, but I get the case,
So here's the issue with Nikola, okay? Nikola has, a facility where in Arizona that they built out, they're continuing to build out, and the reality is, I read into it, all they're capable of doing there is hand building a couple trucks from hand. That's it. It's a showroom. Mm-hmm. They essentially have a corporate headquarters / showroom, okay? Yeah. So they outsource, Nikola outsources almost everything that they do. So it really is kind of like a hybrid marketing company / putting the pieces together company / financing company. But listen, would I put a lot of money into Nikola? No way. No way. That would be insane. I'm putting a tiny bit, like this much, like a tiniest little bit of money into Nikola, in case they end up pulling off the impossible, which is capturing the attention of the funding world to raise the money they need to raise to actually build out this network of hydrogen cell fueling stations, and then end up acquiring a couple other companies, right? They'll put the pieces together bigger. The next thing you know, they really are manufacturing vehicles, and it's not 2020 anymore. Now it's 2023, 2024, and we're halfway to where they need to be. And Nikola is trading at 120 billion, 150 billion, right? Versus the 25 it is today. So, and it's just, I'm just saying, don't completely blow it off. I get it, it's controversial, but I wouldn't completely blow off Nikola. That's kind of how I'm going to end it with Nikola. I'm not.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to blow it off either. Like I said, I'm a buyer. I'm just not a buyer, where we're at right now.
Yeah. I have I want to have a few of these leading companies in the space. Some of them are more speculative than others. I want to have a piece of this space because I think the tailwinds will be strong the next 5 years. That's it, 5 to 10 years. People want it, right? Culture wants it. Politics wants it. Governments want it. Everybody wants to do the right thing. Everyone wants to show they're being cleaner. And we're finally at a place where I think this stuff can start to come to fruition. So, do we make
a lot of people in the comments?
What?
Well, I triggered some folks. I think Chris has triggered some folks.
Wow, wait, why did I, of course, it's junk? Yes, of course it's junk. Of course Nikola's junk. That's the whole point of what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's anything but junk right now. But, money matters, and sometimes junk can turn into something real if they have the right momentum and the right amount of funding, right, and they're able to put the pieces together, right?
Now, Chris,
and so
have you checked the Glassdoor or LinkedIn for Nikola?
I have.
Nolan's saying that we've really missed the boat if we haven't. And I haven't, because I'm letting you guys do this research because I know these companies are junk and not something I want to invest in.
I haven't yet, and you know why I haven't yet? Because I really didn't make a big investment. My investment was so small. I bought a few option contracts for that expire in a few months. So it is so small and speculative that I actually, my thought on Nikola was, even if it's a scam company, it could end up going up the next 60 to 90 days, right?
I mean, so Frank 299 says it's amazing that you're justifying Nikola.
Talk about some better companies.
Yeah, you're justifying Nikola. Yet you said Tesla's valuation was absurd 4 years ago.
I am invested in Tesla, right? That's the whole point. I missed the boat
but basically,
on Tesla.
you're not backing up. My whole point is, I think you could make some money investing in these, even though you know that they're junk companies. Just like you could make some money going to Vegas.
They're not all junk companies. You could say that Nikola is a junk company. You could say that. I think someone could make that case. I don't think that the others are necessarily junk companies, but I think that the people buying them are buying them because of the Tesla influence, the momentum, and just let's jump on this alternative energy gravy train and make a little money and then sell and then not be the last one holding the bag.
Yeah, I think the difference here is if you look at the market cap of this Hyliion, it's not insane, right? It's it's less than $1 billion. And so I think you can argue that you've got an alternative, you've got the time is right for alternative fuel sources, right? We all know the time's right. There's regulations coming out. They're freely available. And so if you're paying less than $1 billion for a powertrain company that can work with any variety of manufacturers that are already out there, I don't think that's a huge risk. I think you can have that in your portfolio and be okay with it.
Let me see. Here's what you're missing. That's good, Jordan. I think you're right about that, but it's a totally different type of investment.
Yeah.
A company that's valued, Dave. You know what a company that's valued at $25 billion can do if they're able to retain that valuation for any period of time? You know what they can do? They could raise $3 billion.
They could actually become the company that they've always dreamed of by.
Yes.
I get that. That could happen. You could turn a junk company into a real company by simply investing in it.
Do you know a company that did exactly that? Tesla.
Hey, Chris, hold on. I want to say something. Chris Erickson just said he can't afford $1,000 stock. You can. You can go on Robinhood and buy your fractional shares.
Yeah, they all do fractional shares. Fidelity does it. Schwab does it. A bunch of them do it.
Hey, if you really want it at $1,000, buy $100. You got $100? Buy $100 worth because you just get a chunk of that share. So why not?
It's the amount of percentage it goes up anyway. So the share price doesn't matter anymore, and companies stopped doing these stock splits because. What was the reason they stopped doing stock splits? There's an actual technical reason. I think it's because the bankers basically made a ton of money every time they did it, and it didn't really help anyone.
Right. Yeah.
So, by the way, there's actual sell-side bank analyst coverage on Nikola. Like J.P. Morgan or someone came out.
They had to. The company got too big, and they had to.
But understand something. Here it was. It was from Cowen. Okay. Now Cowen came out. Granted, they said the company was overvalued, but you know what their target price is? $45 a share, Dave. That's Cowen coming out and saying no, they're not worth $25 billion. They're worth 17 billion. You know, whatever it is, 19. But you can make a case that they're hyped and they're junk. But listen, you also have a sell-side bank that made a case. No, it's a $20 billion company. Yeah. It's not 28, but it's 20.
Like I said, I agree with that. I think it's overpriced right now, but I don't think it's a total fraud.
A little breaking news right now.
It's ahead of time. We're just ahead of time on it.
Moderna stock, you know, the vaccine stock, they are down 8% right now. Let me get the right graph up here. This one. Because their late-stage vaccine trial has been delayed. So this is just coming across. So we'll keep an eye on that story as well, while we maybe pivot from talking about junky stocks like Moderna to something that we might actually want to invest in.
And biotech can be brutal.
Someone asked me this morning on Discord, why don't you invest in the actual vaccine stocks? And my answer was, because there's too many variables. There's too many variables. It's too difficult to gauge what expectations are on the vaccine stocks. I don't even know if they all come out with vaccines, if any of them actually make any money on the vaccines, because there's going to be 30 different companies with vaccines. I'm not saying that they won't or anything. It's just there's too many variables. It's not my thing. I think the market is too on top of it.
Before we move on, I have to remind everyone, because we really, I forgot to say it this morning, we need you to smash the like button. We've only had 125 of those so far, and that's what gets people to know that we're even on the air. We have how many? Like almost 600 viewers right now. That's great. But let's get more people here. So smash it right now. Look at that, 127. They're going up.
So all I'm saying is, when you think about Nikola, because I've thought about it a lot.
And one other thing, the way you say Nikola, there are a lot of people in the chat saying it's hilarious because you say it just like Ricola.
When I shave
so thank you. Look at
I'll
that.
start saying it the right way, okay? But for now, I'm just Nikola.
Anything goes with the stash.
Anything goes. So here's the thing. When you think about it,
I feel like I had one other thing I wanted to do before we jumped into another topic, but keep going.
Okay. When we're thinking about this as a sector, okay, if we're thinking about this as an electrification sector, the companies that have the ability to raise large dollars, Tesla's one of them, Nikola potentially now is another one, are the ones that are going to be in the pole position to do the big things that need to be done, like building out national networks of filling stations, right, and charging stations and stuff like that. So you just have to understand that even though they might not deserve to be here right now, they are here right now, valued at $20-some-odd billion. And because they're here, they could financially engineer themselves to give themselves a chance to be in the pole position of an industry that has potential to explode over the next 5 to 10 years, okay? So you just have to consider that. That's all I'm saying. I don't love Nikola, okay? I don't love them. But I'm not
We're going to give him a phobia, and he's not going to be able to say it right ever in his whole life.
What I really want is, did Nikola Tesla have a middle name? Because that's the shell company I want to start. Whatever his middle name was, that will go
people
nuts.
Should know that. People should know that. If you don't know, Nikola Tesla, you know, that was the first and last name, obviously, right? Tesla's first name was Nikola. And by the way, that's pretty cool from a marketing standpoint, right? You got to admit, that was pretty ingenious naming of that company.
It's obvious. It's obvious, and that's, I think, probably half of their market cap is just their name.
Hey, that's okay. Crazier things have happened. Listen, I learned my lesson early on with Tesla. I learned my lesson, and because of Tesla, I'm not going to put on blinders here to what has potential to happen to Nikola. But it's a tiny equity stake that I have through a hand. I think I have like 20 call contracts. It's really small, guys, for my portfolio. I know I have all of them. I bought all of them. And I'm going to continue to look at this space. And if over time there are things that I like and things that I don't like about each of these players, I will adjust my portfolio in each of them accordingly. But I do think the tailwinds are there for all the companies in the space right now. And even though we're investing at high valuations, what the hell? So
for what it's
anything
worth,
else
I was able to find his birth certificate, and he does not have a middle name. This is
that's what I was about to break in.
His name is
in with the same news.
Yeah, it's Serbian, so there are 2 other names that have characters that don't appear on my keyboard, but that's all I know for now.
Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff. Is that okay with you guys?
I would love to talk about a company that I might actually invest in.
Okay, so
Although I might actually invest in one of these because of the momentum play. Just as I would go to a Vegas casino, and I actually like this way better than a Vegas casino because you don't have to deal with that smoky smell or the lift ride from one side of the street to the other. There's a lot that I don't like about Vegas.
Well, speaking of Vegas, Dave.
Hot take.
Speaking of Vegas, one of our largest portfolio positions, or mine at least, is
mine also.
Gann. Gann can. Dave, I meant to say this earlier. Can you make a Gann can shirt for us or some Gann merch? I feel like Gann has done enough for us. It could fall apart. I mean, Gann's a highly speculative stock. It could fall apart. But I got to have a Gann can hat, right? Or a Gann can shirt. Could we do something there? Have a cool, like, it's like, I don't know how you do a shirt for online gaming, but there's got to be you could think of something great.
No, we could come up with a cool logo that's kind of a vintage retro roulette wheel or something with Gann can.
Like electrified for, like, you know, because it's digitized, because Gann's all about digitizing the old school gaming.
Have you been to their website? It basically is that. It's like a neon on top of stock photos of gaming stuff. It's pretty bad.
All right. Gann can tease, just show you, we do listen to you guys at Discord, coming to the Dumb Money merch channel. At some point.
Actually, that's what we need to do, is actually just have a full channel for merch ideas. And if there's a way to do voting in there, we could just have a poll to see which slogans. Because I all the time I say, oh, that should be a t-shirt. We need to actually track those and see which ones people might actually be interested in, so that we can design the ones that people would like the most.
Okay, so that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. So talking about casinos, we have. And talking about these SPACs, right? These weird way to IPO. We have one coming, and it's Lancadia's Golden Nugget, right? Tillman Fertitta. You know this Tillman guy, right? He's on
CNBC every other day complaining about the restaurant industry.
Yes, he owns all those crazy restaurant chains.
Yeah.
It's like the crawfish places and stuff in Texas. So I guess he also owns. Owns the Golden Nugget. I guess, is that right? So either that, or he's partnered with the Golden Nugget. But they're going to do a deal to spin out an online gaming version of the Golden Nugget casino. So they're going to have kind of like DraftKings, right? So they will have a DraftKings version of Golden Nugget. It'll be branded Golden Nugget, and it'll be an online sports book and an online casino. And he's IPOing this thing, I don't know, $500 million, $1 billion. Brilliant move on his part. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Why not do it? Online gaming is hot right now. They have a pretty cool brand. But do they have enough? Would you invest in this thing? Like, I barely even want to invest in DraftKings. Like, I'm thinking Penn National is kind of cool only for the Barstool Sports app they're going to release in a few months.
Yeah.
But, you know, day traders kind of getting a little bit controversial right now, and I don't even know, the degree where that brand's going to lose momentum here in the next year. So I don't even know what's going on in this space. But would you invest in that deal? I mean, why?
No.
It doesn't make sense to me. And I know people are excited about it because of him. He is a promoter. He's the type of CEO in 2020 that wins, okay? Because he's doing this crafty financial engineering stuff. He's doing a cool SPAC. The Golden Nugget's kind of a cool retro casino in downtown Vegas, and he wants to be part of this whole movement. Yeah.
You remember when CEOs were not allowed to say good things about their company, when it was like a real no-no to have anything positive to say about the future of your company? And now that's just beyond the only way to be a CEO and be a self-promoter. Yeah. Would you give money to this guy, though? I mean,
Yeah,
that is one
I
of your
mean-
favorite poses.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Now, if he only had a mustache like you did, we'll be.
I don't know, man. I'm out of it. I just want to. I know people were talking about it, so I figured we would surface this thing. I just don't see what their natural advantage is, other than having a hype CEO and a kind of a cool Vegas brand in a space that's doing really well right now. I think there's so much competition in this space. We talked about it. If you want to be an online casino, you're in an online sports book, you're going to have to spend a crazy amount of money to recruit customers and to continue to keep those customers on your platform instead of someone else's platform. And which is why I don't really love that space long term. I liked it for a little trade on online gaming, but long term, I don't love it. I kind of like Gann because they're the back-end software provider. They get 7 to 10% of all the top-line revenue of every Indian casino they partner with, and they don't have to spend any money on marketing. That's kind of why I like Gann.
Yeah, and that's why I like it. It's a software as a service that provides the back end for online gaming and takes a cut. It's like the house never loses. Gann can't lose, right? Their expenses don't go up when people show up, other than maybe a little hosting, cost. But every single time someone shows up, they're giving Gann free money.
Yeah, I mean, the risk factor on Gann is that half their revenue right now is one company, FanDuel, that's obviously going to probably dump them. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yep.
That's the risk for Gann. But then they do have this tier 1 company that they keep talking about. By the way, the rumor is, Dave and Jordan, the tier 1, an article came out last week in like some gaming news thing, is going to be Churchill Downs. So Churchill Downs is going to be that tier 1 client. But Churchill Downs, I don't really understand it because they just signed a deal with another sportsbook company that Gann does integrate with. And so the rumor is that they're going to be on the Gann platform, but using this other sportsbook. So maybe Gann gets the casino, the real money casino business from Churchill Downs, which generally is more than the sports book. Like, it generates more money than the sports book, but they're not even going to get all of it, which is a little disappointing, quite honestly. It takes a little bit of energy away from that tier 1 client, but they said they could be $300 to $400 million a year, which would have been 30 to 40 million a year for Gann. But do they still make 30 to 40 million if they don't have the sports book as well? Just something to think about. I think Gann has other really big opportunities with other tier 1 clients, so I'm not super concerned. By the way, did you guys watch that video I sent you? Someone put it in the Discord channel of the Gann CEO this last week, talking about expansion possibly in Australia as well as Macau. The Macau thing's kind of odd. I don't know how that's all going to work because you're going to go to Macau, travel to Macau from China, and then gamble on your iPhone. I don't know that that's a thing unless you're in your hotel room at 2 a.m. and you're too lazy to go downstairs to gamble. But Australia has a really robust gambling market, okay? A lot of lowlives evidently live in Australia and all they do is gamble. No, I mean, listen, I gamble, but no, there's a lot of people in Australia that are habitual gamblers, and it seems like that could be a really robust market for online gambling. And he was quoted in this interview as saying that he thinks that they're going to come online with legislation in the near term, which he defined as kind of 12 to 18 months. So that is a mega market. Gann has been spending the time down in Australia to make the connections. There's a tremendous number of offline casinos in Australia. It seems like it's a pretty fragmented market, which is beautiful for Gann. That's where Gann really excels, in a fragmented market with lots of offline casinos that are not going to spend the money like FanDuel is to develop their own platform. They just want a turnkey platform for their offline casino to be able to do online gaming. So that will be a great market, I think, for Gann. Just something to think about.
This is the video that you sent over, and I have not had a chance to watch it all, but it is.
You should
it's
definitely.
only like 8 minutes long. I'll definitely watch that right after this. I couldn't remember which of our many text chains that went to. That was actually in our varsity group, so I found it. It's on my to-do list.
So I bought another. Let's see. first of all, did you guys buy any rebound stocks this week? It could have been a big mistake, and I didn't go crazy with it, but I did buy about $1 million of rebound stocks this week. Like, all the names that we've talked about a million times, a little bit of Avis, a little bit of Southwest Airlines, a little bit of Royal Caribbean, a little bit of Carnival, a little bit of Live Nation, a little bit of Ford, okay?
A little bit of Hertz.
I did not get it. I did not get any Hertz. I did not get any Hertz. A
Are
little
they
bit of
delisted?
Sabre. A little bit of Sabre. What?
Is Hertz delisted yet?
No, they're still trading. They're $1.46 right now.
Never gonna. They haven't started their descent to zero yet. Starting any month now. So I know.
So I didn't buy any. I had some short position in the DIA, the Dow average. I covered half of that the day before the market started recovering or whatever. And actually was in a great position, and then that Pfizer news came out ahead of the market. So pre-market, I closed out that whole short position, and I think I ended up basically breaking even on that hedge. But I'm glad that I had it, because had it not been for that Pfizer news, it looked like the whole market would have been.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where that was a one-time news event. What's going to happen over this long holiday weekend?
I don't know, Dave. And
Well, they're closing down beaches, right? So that's, I guess, good. Even though beaches are probably more safe than being in a bar.
I don't know. I might put on a hedge over the weekend again. It cost me $100K last weekend to put on that hedge, quite honestly. And I was happy to lose the money because it got me through the weekend, not having to worry about my portfolio. I think it is a volatile time right now. I can't do that every weekend. I'll figure out what I want to do this weekend with the hedge, though. I don't think we're going to get vaccine news over a holiday weekend, right? Because, who would announce vaccine news over a holiday weekend?
They're not
right?
working.
So, that kind of takes the upside off the table.
Well, unless they're planning to just, release on Monday morning,
It's
Monday
certainly
morning pump.
It's possible, but would you do that on a Monday morning after a big holiday? Wait, first of all, the holiday is Monday, right?
No, the holiday is Saturday.
Yeah, it's
so
Saturday.
Wait, is the market closed?
The market is closed tomorrow in observance on July 3rd for the Saturday holiday.
So I got to get this hedge on today.
This is your day.
Okay, shoot. Thanks for telling me that. All right, so that will happen. Let me just talk about a few things. Okay, so I got more than a tiny bit of Ford, and I'll tell you why. Okay.
Is it because they invested in Rivian? So this is your electric car play?
No, they did. Listen, I do. It is partly because of that. I think Rivian's a great play here, but beyond, we didn't talk about Rivian today. Rivian is the private company that has some really sick pickup trucks.
I will be a Rivian purchaser, and if they ever go public, I will buy that stock if it's not too expensive.
Why don't they do a SPAC right now, man, and get on the market?
I know. Why not?
They should
raise some money.
Be part of this.
Let's do it.
So
let's call them.
But that's part of the reason why I did it. I also think, hey, the Ford Bronco is going to come out on the 13th of July. They're going to finally release it. We can say, listen, it's not the right Bronco for me. I don't even know if I'm going to get it. Maybe I'm going to get it. It's not what I wanted. It's the 60s version. It's a little bit too small scale for me. But I think there is a pretty sizable market for the truck they're going to announce on the 13th. I think it's going to hype the company this year.
Hey, the truck that they just released was pretty awesome. Did you see some of the stats on what they're because basically they're turning the truck into an AC generator.
The F-150.
The F-150. You can run they said you can run a refrigerator. You can run an entire jackhammer and radio and all this stuff at the same. It's insane.
But you know what was more talked about than that, Jordan, on the F-150 was the lay flat driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
And that you can now actually sleep in your driver's seat in an F-150 and almost very close to lay fully flat. That was pretty hyped. In general, I think, the F-150, it's a nice refresh with some interesting feature changes, basically. Yeah. It is expensive, and I think that's a positive for Ford. That's kind of their marquee truck, right? I think the Bronco, listen, love it or hate it, I don't know yet, but I think first-year sales of the Bronco are going to be through the roof. What are year 2 sales, year 3 sales going to be? I have no idea. But year 1 sales are going to be through the roof. I don't know if Wall Street appreciates that, quite honestly. I think that's a pretty big tailwind for Ford the next year. And I just don't think that Wall Street gets that. And so I went in a little bit more than a little bit on Ford. It's a rebound trade for me, but I went in heavier there than the other rebound trades.
How's that electric Mustang doing? I don't think well.
No, that's not true. The electric Mustang is highly controversial again.
Yeah.
We can all debate if it's going to be successful or a failure 2 years from now. But what we know right now, Jordan, is they sold every single one that they can make right now. And that's all they,
okay.
Right? Yeah, so they sold out all their pre-orders. It's done. By the way, someone made a great comment on FLIR, FLIR. I still really like FLIR right now. I really like them for the reasons we've discussed in numerous shows. Their thermal imaging, I think they're going to sell every single piece of thermal imaging equipment they're able to manufacture. The big question is, how much can they manufacture? That is the only question. How quickly can they ramp up the supply chain? I am planning to hold my FLIR through earnings in early August. Now, someone brought up something in the Discord that is a great point and something that I was already aware of, but I think it's important to discuss on FLIR. FLIR generates a tremendous amount of revenue from the government. And now that we're getting closer to the election cycle, we have to start to pay attention to that. And if it looks like Biden and potentially even Senate seats are up for grab and we're going to get maybe a blue wave going to the election, if that has a possibility of happening, that puts FLIR at risk. It's not going to shake me out of my FLIR position prior to earnings, but it probably puts me into maybe exiting my whole FLIR position or a good chunk of it directly after earnings, okay? So that's kind of my roadmap for FLIR, because I really don't want to be in a company that's relying on government revenue going into the election cycle.
I sold my FLIR.
You sold your FLIR already?
Yep,
Why did you sell it so soon?
Why? You see where that orange dotted line is on the chart? That's where I sold it. I don't know how I've never timed a stock perfectly like that before, but look at that.
Why, Dave? Why? Why did you sell it?
We've talked about it. I don't think that FLIR will be installed at places like LAX, but it's not a complete predictor of who is contagious, and it's kind of fake security, and I think that it's not going to be as widespread as you're hoping.
I get what you're saying, and I actually kind of agree what you're saying in terms of the efficacy of it. And for that reason, I even read an article that said that the airports, for one thing, were not yet convinced on doing these thermal imaging. I thought LAX was trialing it, but they have not yet convinced.
Yeah, LAX was the one that I read was trialing it, or maybe just at one terminal or something. But I just don't see that as being effective, and we already have enough fake security at the airport.
Well, it's all fake security rules, okay? And that's never going away. It's everything we do is always going to be about fake security and fake safety and perception, and that's what matters to me. It doesn't matter personally to me, but I think as an investor, that stuff matters because that's what drives decisions at corporates. And I think the perception of a company or a manufacturing facility or a warehousing facility or an amusement park or anything saying, hey, we're taking the proper steps to do what we need to do. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. At my restaurant...
And that's a good point. FLIR is the only player in the space. So if you think thermal imaging is going to be a thing, then FLIR is the biggest, right?
Yeah, there's a few others, but they're the biggest. The thing is, at my restaurant, listen, I am adamant about the fact that wearing gloves are terrible for sanitation purposes for this virus. I would much rather have my staff not wearing gloves and frequently washing their hands than wearing these nasty gloves that get infection on them if there is someone, right? And then if you're not going to replace the gloves every 15 minutes, then don't wear gloves, because we have sinks back where our servers are, and they literally be washing their hands every 15 minutes all day long, right? That is the right thing to do. But consumers feel that they are more comfortable when someone's wearing gloves. So, we made a decision to wear the gloves. In fact, I don't know for sure if they're wearing gloves right now, but this is a few months ago, we're like, when people were all hyped on gloves, like, you got to wear the gloves because our patrons feel safer with the gloves. Just can change the gloves out as often as possible.
Or
right?
wash the gloves, right? You can wash the gloves the same way you can wash your hands.
Oh,
that way you don't get as dry. My hands are so dry from all of the sanitizer and washing I do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
But then you get water underneath the lip, and then you get water on the hand. Like, it's a bad situation.
The whole thing's gross.
It's so gross. So the thing is, perception matters, and I think people are going to buy these things.
I think United's decision to run an ad campaign where if you aren't wearing a mask, you're not welcome on our planes is going to help United. I think, and I saw someone talking about this. If the airlines were to get together and do a study of how safe or unsafe it is to fly and figure out scientifically, hey, of the 50,000 people we did contact tracing on, whatever percentage, it might be something that would help the airlines get back to business. Maybe they don't want to know. Maybe they don't want that information out there.
Yeah.
But commission a study, because if they commission it and pay for it, they'll get the results that they want.
Yeah,
of course they will. Of course they will. Okay,
I do like that they're requiring the mask, though. I think that should be a requirement to do business at all right now.
Yeah.
Oh, no brainer. So I did one of my rebound stocks is the Gap. I actually hate the Gap, as I've said many times. I did this because of the Kanye story, and I think it's important to understand that. That news is fully disseminated about Kanye, but what's not disseminated, because people always ask about this. Well, isn't that news disseminated? So shouldn't you be exiting the stock? Well, I bought the stock as it was disseminated, so I wasn't in it before that. I'm trading the fact that Wall Street doesn't appreciate potentially how big of a partnership that can be. So yes, we all know as investors that Kanye has partnered with the Gap, but I don't think we realize how big a partnership like that can be for a brand in terms of bringing in other celebrity partnerships, the same way that Joe Rogan did his partnership, right, with Spotify. That's going to potentially result in a dozen other mega partnerships that are exclusive to Spotify. Kanye in the fashion world is an icon in his own right, whether you like him or not, whether you like his fashion or not. And landing someone like that at with a brand like the Gap blows my mind still. Has potential to be a real game changer. I don't know what the plans are at the Gap, but I didn't buy a huge amount of stock. But I think that over the next couple years, assuming that we get to a better place with the virus, the Gap can really do something big here with this partnership. I don't know what they will, but this has potential to change a company.
If you just want to do the opposite of what they do on CNBC, this might be a good play, because they were talking about how it was a grasping for straws effort and just blow off type of partnership.
Chris, you and 80,000 Robinhood investors all jumped on the Gap bandwagon at the exact same time.
And by the way, I want to make something very clear. This is not because I have conviction in that trade. It's not because I have conviction in the Gap.
No, but you've seen what these kind of consumer demand driven by celebrity has done to other uncool brands like Crocs. Crocs is one of our favorite investments of all time because they keep reinventing themselves with yet another bigger, better collab.
Yes, it's a risk-reward trade. The reward of striking a partnership that bold at a brand that's as dead as the Gap is so big and so interesting that it has potential to turn you could see the Gap up 3 or 4x or 5x from here if this partnership sparks other things and you have a massive turnaround of a brand in the 2020s that is highly relatable, not just to the millennial or Gen Z market, but relatable to the African American market, which is the toughest market in the world for an apparel company to connect with. Remember, I told this story so many years ago, like 15 years, I don't know how many years ago it was, with Michelle Obama, okay, and J. Crew. This is the story of social arbitrage. Like, if you read my book, you know that right now I have the dress that Michelle Obama wore on, was it Jay Leno?
Tonight Show. So Jay Leno's Tonight Show.
Tonight Show. I have that dress on a hanger.
You should wear that dress on the show.
Closet. Okay, do you know what? I had to buy it on eBay. I spent like hundreds of dollars on this dress. Do you know why I have it hanging in my closet? No. To remind me of one of the biggest social arb trades that was in front of my face. I not only saw the episode of the Tonight Show, but I actually had the Star magazine, or whatever that tabloid magazine was, on my sofa, like coffee table, with Michelle Obama on the cover in her J. Crew dress, and I didn't connect the dots to realize that that spark was going to connect an entire new world of shoppers to the J. Crew brand, a world that is worth so much money. The African American demographic is worth so much money to an apparel company, and that one spark did so much for that brand. I think the stock was up 50% in the following 6 months, something crazy like that. This is
the single weirdest story that Chris has ever told me.
Yeah. So like, but that dress is in there.
Well, you have it to remind you, but you also have it because
what an idiot I am.
You also have it because
is it in like a shadow box, and like you walk in and then you're sad?
It's just on a plastic hanger. I should put it in a shadow box. That'd be awesome.
But you you carted that dress around when you were on your speaking tour, so you'd have a prop to show on stage to talk about this awesome connection of the dots that you finally made.
I did. When we went,
you needed a prop.
I used to go around talking about social arb investing just for fun to like investment groups, and I would bring so many props. I brought the Missoni bicycle from the Missoni Target collaboration. I actually bought the bicycle, built it, and would bring the bicycle. Remember that, Dave?
I have a picture of it. I'll find it.
Yeah, and I would bring, a guitar. I bought a Guitar Hero to talk about how important the Guitar Hero game was to Activision back in the day. It basically tripled that stock. One game tripled a multi-billion-dollar company because that game. Howard would have loved this when we had Howard on the episode. The ultimate 8 to 80 stock. There were 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds playing Guitar Hero. And by the way, for anyone that didn't watch our Monday episode, we rarely do episodes where we bring in a special guest because they have to be really special. We brought Howard Lindzen on, and we just talked for hours. I thought people were going to hate it because we just went on for hours. They all loved it. Like, I never know what to expect. But people were emailing me and calling me saying it was their favorite episode they've ever watched of Dumb Money, which is so cool.
Yeah, it was a really neat episode. If you haven't watched it, you should definitely check it out. The replay is probably somewhere right near where you're watching us right now.
So let me talk. There's other stuff here that I did. Okay, so the roller skating thing. There is no clear trade. There's no pure play trade. There's really no trade on the roller skating, but there is one that let's call this ultra low conviction for me. Oh, there's
there they are, and there's the bike. I can't get you both in the same frame.
So guys, when we sold our company eCarList that Jordan and Lynn started, okay. For those of you that haven't heard 100 times, there was an automotive company. Lynn, our good friend Lynn and Jordan started it. I joined them very shortly after, and then Dave shortly after that, and it was all four of us, and all of our best buddies worked at the company. It's the best time of our life. When we sold that company, I then went off, or maybe I did this at the same time. Maybe this is before that.
I don't know. You tried to do Water Blanket at the same time. This is after.
This is after. So I went on a book tour from my old book, Laughing at Wall Street, and I hired these two really talented girls to help me market the book. We were the biggest idiots going around the country talking about social arb investing, and in the side of that, I was trying to invent a product. This is the greatest story of all time. I was trying to invent I had issues sleeping, right? And I realized that on a plane, I would feel so comfortable when I put something heavy on my lap and I could fall asleep. So at home, I tried putting something heavy over my body and it made me relax. Well, as it turns out, I did a bunch of research and there's a lot of science behind that. In fact, if you're autistic, you need to have a weighted blanket to fall asleep. Now, I don't know if I'm autistic or not. Maybe I'm a little bit autistic, but
I think we both are.
Yeah, it's been proven that quite honestly, you don't have to be autistic. Everybody, when you put something heavy on you, like when you go to the dentist office and they put that lead blanket on you and just kind of you feel so relaxed, it's called deep pressure stimulation. It's the same chemical reaction that you get when you have a deep pressure massage, but in a smaller way. Your brain turns off. So when you get that deep pressure in your body, it actually turns signals off in your brain and it releases serotonin and it allows you to fall asleep. So I had this concept of developing a weighted blanket similar to the ones they use for autistic kids, but for the general public. But I needed to make this weighted blanket for like 20, so it could sell for $20 or $25, right? We had to be able to ship it anywhere in the world for a couple dollars. I over-engineered the hell out of this thing. Dave, Jordan, did I spend 2 years engineering this weighted blanket?
All I remember is you had like this the prototype that was like a piece of canvas with like water bags shoved in it.
Yes. Here's the concept. We were going to market it through, we were going to market it through infomercials, right?
Yeah.
And so we had to be able to ship it for like $2. Oh, there it is. There's the picture of it. We're going to be able to ship it for. There's proof. Ship it for $2, and the only way we can ship it for $2 was if we shipped it light, right? We had to ship it really light, and then when you got it at home, you fill it with water. I was such an idiot for trying to do this, and then it would form itself. We were using like gel materials that would form itself, and then you would cap it. It was so stupid, but I was convinced that this is going to be the next big product, right? So we went through multiple iterations of this. I hired an engineering firm. We're trying to engineer it. Well, eventually we said, this is insane. And we moved on to another product. We'll talk about it another day. But I gave up on the water blanket. It was called the water blanket, right? And guess what happened 5 years later? 5 or 6 years later, this guy had the same idea, but instead of trying to invent a better version, he just took the identical version that autistic kids were using. I mean, did not do one thing to it. Just took the identical blanket and remarketed it as the gravity blanket. Became the #1 selling thing that's ever been sold on what's the crowdsourcing site? The crowdfunding site, the big one.
I know what you're talking about.
I just blanked. Chris, why didn't you just do that? You should have just done that.
He sold like 20, 30 million in these gravity blankets, and now it's in every store around the world. God, what is the crowdsourcing site?
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. The #1 Kickstarter campaign of all time. And the day that I saw that, just my soul was just crushed. I spent all this money, all this time, working with employees and just completely missed the boat. And this guy invented my product, but didn't do a darn thing except create a website and basically white label existing weighted blankets that already existed. So I bought one. Now I sleep with one every night.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, my whole family.
Do you like it? Is it? I'm always concerned it's going to be too hot, so that's why I haven't bought one.
Okay, so Dave, I have the perfect brand. I found the perfect brand. They're $50 on Amazon.
Not Gravity brand?
No, I won't give him $1. My money. No. So, okay, it is. So the blanket is only 4 feet long or 5 feet long by like 2 or 3 feet wide. So it's really small. It weighs 10 pounds, and I cannot sleep without it now. I'm addicted to it.
Send me a link. Send me a referral link. I'll give you a kickback.
So by the way, what were we talking about before that whole thing happened?
I don't know.
Your bike, your back to Michelle Obama, back to connecting with the African American market, back to Gap. Boy, I have a good memory this morning.
To Gap, no, I was talking about roller skates, and so
that was like an hour ago.
There's no. There's pure play trade on roller skates, but I did buy shares in Zoomies. Remember Zoomies, it's the skateboard brand? They have mall stores where they basically sell skateboards and skateboard apparel, like street apparel, and they sell these Impala roller skates there. So I don't think that they're going to sell a ton of Impala roller skates because they've sold out every single one that they had, and they probably won't get restocked for months. But I did see that in addition to roller skates trending, that skateboards were also trending. And skateboards is what Zoomies is all about. So you know what? They're a mall store, which is the worst thing in the world to be. They do, I think, have an e-commerce division. But they are a mall store, which I don't like. But their stock has gotten hit. I bought some Zoomies, not a lot. They'll sell some roller skates. I think kids do want more skateboards now that they're stuck at home. That's it. That was another trade that I did. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. You know I'm out of all my short positions except for SeaWorld and Ruth Chris.
Except for maybe you're doing a hedge over the weekend.
I might do a hedge over the weekend. That
You
will
got to
be
get,
like,
hey, Chris, you got to get that hedge in 7 minutes because the market closes at 2 Eastern.
What? Are you serious right now?
Oh, this is exciting. We should do this live.
Live hedge.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, obviously we're doing it live. What the hell do I do now? Do I do the same thing I did last weekend with the puts then?
I don't know what you do.
So markets open on Monday, right?
Yep. Yes.
So I think, shoot. Oh, this is so frustrating. I have to do this in real time. I'm only really hedging against the virus, right? Against it getting much worse and a state starting to close down more over the weekend, freaking people out. So I think I just got to go with the Dow, right? I just got to go with the Dow puts. Or just
I think, look, I mean, as far as upside is concerned, I think that's or downside of the put is that's probably the best one.
But I think I also just kind of need to just. This is really rough, guys. Okay, I can't because I got to go with the SPYs because that's going to they'll expire on Monday and I can get them cheaper, right? So those SPY options.
You have a countdown?
Chris, this countdown clock is not actually synced to the market, but it was my best guess at being able to throw a countdown clock on the screen real quick. Is that anywhere close to being right? I think it is.
There's
Oh wait,
there's
wait. Alex says that they're regular schedule, so I could be wrong. I thought that I just read that.
Oh, we got to find this. I don't want to be under pressure. I want proper time to do this. This would kill me.
Oh, conclusion of regular trade Thursday, and then the bond market closes early. That's my mistake.
Bond market closes
fine.
early.
Take the clock off.
So get your bond trades in real quick, and then.
Have you ever traded bonds, Chris?
No. I
Only
have
in your parents' retirement account or something?
I trade treasury bills for my parents. Yeah, but other than that, I do not. So, okay, we talked about roller skates. We talked about I have the Moonshine has arrived, guys. I don't know if we talked about this on the show.
I don't know if we've talked about this.
The Moonshine. Okay, so I am helping. I'm not going to talk about.
Oh yeah, I need to come to your house and get a little bit and my camera.
I am helping out a friend of a friend who has developed a ultra premium line of Moonshine. There's only a few of these in the entire world. It is in some of the best, most renowned restaurants in Manhattan right now. It's very early stage. Thinking about investing in it. He sent me a bottle of it. You know, guys, I cannot drink whiskey. I cannot touch whiskey or scotch or any of that stuff. This Moonshine is a clear alcohol, has a little bit of smoke to it. It's a totally whole new world of alcohol. And I made myself a Moonshine Paloma a couple days ago. And you know what? It was excellent. Excellent. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a dozen people in my world, and you're two of them. I bought a dozen little bottles, these little bottles from Amazon that I can just seal, like the kind they make juice. They sell those juice, veggie juices in.
Yeah.
I'm going to divide the Moonshine up to all these bottles. I'm going to take a picture of all the different drinks that you can make with this Moonshine that he recommends. And I'm going to have I'll give you guys each the equivalent of about 4 shots of Moonshine. Okay.
Can we get like an assignment, like you make these 4 drinks?
No, you make any drink that you want that appeals to you on that list. I want you to make the drinks the right way at your home, have fun with it, and I want you to report back to me. I'm going to have my GM at my restaurant. I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to my bar manager at the restaurant. I'm giving it to a couple friends that are that used to work in the alcohol industry.
I want to know what recipes he comes up with, because he's really good with coming up with things that taste amazing out of unknown, weird, locally sourced alcohol.
So I'm going to give everyone between 2 and 4 shots worth of moonshine. But this is ultra premium Tennessee. Like, this is not made in someone's backyard. Ultra premium moonshine that could actually be, you could drink this on ice. It is that good, okay? Supposedly, but I don't have a palate to really have a qualified opinion on this.
You have a palate for moonshine?
The fact that I didn't throw up when I drank it, to me, it like passed with flying colors. So, because like anything that's not tequila or vodka, I just don't mess, or gin. I'll drink gin every once in a while. You know me, I'm pretty much straight tequila or occasionally vodka. So that's coming your way, Dave. I'm going to drop that off at your house today, Jordan. Whenever you can make it your way here, I will have it prepared for you, ready to go. What else? That's it. I have another rant. I was talking to my energy guy this morning, Barry.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this came up in context. You know, I think being stuck here in quarantine for 4 or 5 months, looking at another 6 months in quarantine, it really starts to change the way you think about life and what's possible, right? And like everything doesn't have to be the status quo the way it was. Like, we could make, I think people are going to come out of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people are going to come out of this time in a year or 6 months from now, whenever it happens to be. I have no idea when. And they're going to have such a bold outlook on the way that they're going to live their life. There's no more rules anymore. Would you agree with me that like the rules are out the window, like of how you want to live your life and what you want to do? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that things are completely different. The whole idea of the office is kind of outdated now. The whole idea of where you live, you don't necessarily need to be in a city center anymore. There's so many cultural changes that could happen over the next, what might have taken 20 years has now been done in like 6 months.
So the thing that I think is most intriguing about this movement, and because it's, I'm going to sound like Miley Cyrus and her movement, but I think there is a movement towards investing that is potentially way bigger than we're even seeing right now in terms of younger people investing. Yeah. I think it is so big that it's not just big, I think it's everything, okay? And let me explain that. I think that if what we've seen in the last few months of kids investing, and I'm hearing more and more about it every day, it's so massive and so big that I think it could literally become the future. And what I mean by that is, we grew up in a time when going to college was really important. Where you graduated from was somewhat important. Having a real job at a real company. Remember how everybody want to get that first real job so they can tell their friends, "Oh, I got a job at such and such," right?
We both did it. We went to work at bigger companies that people have heard of, so that our resume or now LinkedIn had a brand you've heard of. But does that?
But then we had the age of startups and all that stuff, right? And I think that age that continues to get bigger, obviously. But I think there's a point where investing, you see more and more people, and I think we're going to talk about what we're doing at Dumb Money in 2021. It's going to be really big. It's going to rock your world when we tell you where Dumb Money is headed next year and the year after. But
I was like, where are you going with this? I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but we're not going to say now. But what I think is investing is everything. So I think there's a new mentality of, you know what? I might not need to work after age 30, ever, right? I might not need to go to college. I might just decide to start a business fixing sprinklers in my neighborhood, or becoming an electrician or a plumber, or doing something that I could earn $70,000 a year, or $80,000 a year, or $100,000 a year. That's pretty tough work and maybe not looked upon as being prestigious. but I'm going to start, I've been investing since I was 17, 18, and I'm going to do this for 13, 14 more years, and I'm going to retire at age 30 with $3 million or $4 million.
That whole financial freedom movement of retiring early, and what is the acronym?
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to college. It's at all. Or like, my whole thing about college, like I have this concept of wanting to send my kids to school for 1 year just so they can experience the social interactions of school and understand it, because it's not like we're going to go from college to no college. It's going to be like a 30-year, 40-year thing, right? Like, so like having that hybrid thing where, oh yeah, I went to school. When people say, where do you go to school? You can say, oh, I went to school, and name a school. And I understand where you have to be able to relate to people that went to school, because it makes you better prepared to understand civilization and humanity and all the people around you and what they experience in life, right? And the people you dealt with. I think it would be cool to go to school for a year to experience that, with the understanding that you are going to drop out after a year, to spend that whole year of school doing nothing but networking, finding the smartest, most ambitious kids at that school and befriending them, to hopefully lifelong friendships from that, because that's where the value really is, right? And then also spending that year at school, taking time to befriend all the alumni at that school, going to every alumni event as a student of that school, developing relationships. And I did this stuff, right, when I was at school, like getting all the big money alumni guys and girls, right? And like just developing the most massive network ever at 1 year at school. And by the way, this does not count for people that need real degrees in medicine and engineering and various things. But like for people that are going, 80% of people that go to college are there for just general business. Developing all those relationships, and then maybe going out and getting an internship, or just getting a job, starting a business that makes cash flow from day one, right? Just a sprinkler. I love the sprinkler repair concept, right? Like I just, there's so much money in that world, and just making your 80K a year starting at age 18 and just investing hardcore for 14, 15 years and retiring at age 30 or 32 with a guaranteed retirement, right? Why can't you just, your job be becoming a great investor, right?
Or finding something you actually like doing. My whole thing is, if you find something you enjoy doing and can make a living doing it, that you don't necessarily need to go to school for, that would be amazing, right? You didn't need to go to a prestigious university to figure out your investing concept. You've been doing that long before you actually had a degree from SMU, right?
Yeah, but you don't, like I said, it's not one way for everyone. I think there's alternative tracks. You can do something that you love, and that's certainly amazing. But if you don't love something at age 18 or 20, you can do something you don't love. I did a lot of jobs that I didn't love, but it enabled me to spend the rest of my life doing whatever I love, right? And I'm still a relatively young person, and the next 40 years, I never have to work in an office again. I never have to work for another person. And so I do not mind the fact that I had to spend 10 or 15 years working for, pretty hardcore bosses throughout my life, doing miserable work for a while, because it made me a better person, I think. And I used that money to invest and to eventually leave that life and enter this life that I really love, right?
It also taught you, though, how companies were run and what you liked and didn't like about working for a boss, and hopefully how to be a better boss. So it did teach you something, actually, going through that decade of not working, not doing what you love, but working at a corporate gig that paid you enough money to live and save and invest.
100%. So listen, I know this is totally random, but I think it just makes this channel so much more important. And it's not because I want to be an important thing in the world. I think that we have an opportunity, this community, people that are watching us, this is everything. Investing is everything, because it's not just about you making money or having the freedom in your life to do what you love, but it's about changing the world, man. It's like, dude, Nikola, right?
Nikola.
You did give me a thing. All right, like, listen, I'm
gonna get a sound effect.
If you are an environmentalist, if you're the type of green, centric millennial Gen Zer who really is just like, you cannot stand the thought of diesel trucks polluting the world, or Carnival Cruise Lines with their diesel engines pulling the line, and you got to get the world to change to hydrogen, right? Or this natural gas or whatever it is. Like, you're like, hey, I don't care. Let's give these guys $20 billion right now in cash and see if they can pull this off. Well, guess what? Give them the money. Give them the money and see if they can pull it off. If they pull it off, you might actually make a bunch of money, in the interim. But what you're actually doing is you're giving someone who's a radical person, this guy that Dave called a carnival barking, whatever, T.D. Barnum, and I agree with you, Dave, he is. But, there's a very fine line between being a lunatic, crazy person and being a genius. Elon Musk is part of that, right? And so sometimes giving those people, giving them the money to do something insane, something radical, something crazy, just might save the freaking world, okay? And I think the more people we get on Robinhood, the more people we get taking chances on people like this Nikola guy or Elon Musk, the more great things that are going to happen over the next 20, 30 years. And listen, if dumb money could be a small part of exciting people to be part of that movement, then so be it.
No, absolutely.
That's all.
Like, that was a great rant. And the person that I think of first when it's like, what visionary crazy person would you want to have given money to? It's Steve Jobs. But he wasn't always success. Apple was not a success story for its first 10 years. I read a stat that blew my mind. If you invested in Apple in 1985 and held it for 10 years, you would have lost money. But then the next 10 years, you would have become a billionaire, right?
You know what I just realized, Dave?
What did you
that
realize?
Someday, I might want to clip that rant because it might be this, how you go back and clip a rant of something because I really feel passionate about this subject. And when we do that, I'm going to be fucking having this fast. That no one is going to know is a joke that I wore for a week. And it's just like...
Well, at least you've gotten it into the record now that it was a joke. Because the interesting thing is, these videos live on. Like, our opinions today are going to be around for forever. So, good thing we don't change our mind about things.
One more update. For those of y'all that don't know, one of our crazy projects, we are, if you never watched the old Dumb Money channel, which will come alive one day again, we promise, us running around the world looking for crazy investments that have nothing to do with trading stocks. One of those crazy investments at this moment in time is buying an island. Buying an island in the Bahamas, and it's something we probably won't do because it's too crazy and it's too risky, but we might. So we're looking at this island and doing all kinds of work. We're trying to price out desalination systems. We're pricing out what it costs to actually run an island on solar or diesel, sewage, getting a sewage treatment plant, what it costs to develop an island, what the risk factors are. And those are all things that are happening. I mean, I'm doing most of that work right now. I haven't even discussed it, Jordan, too much with you. I've been doing this over the past week.
I got a PDF, and that's it. But I'm fascinated by the whole thing, and I think that this could be, if not a great investment, at least it would be great YouTube content.
Yeah, like I said.
No, but I think actually a possibility of being amazing.
We have a lot of starts and not a lot of things. I mean, we start a lot of things and we ultimately talk ourselves out of it for good reason. And this could be one of those things. But, one of the things that I am concerned about, guys, is insurance. I was talking to our buddy Ryan, who's a builder, and he's got us into that development deal. He connected us with the developer that connected me with the developer we invested in the past, who just gave me a lot of great advice yesterday. And one of the things he told me to look out for was insurance, commercial insurance. So as you know, we've done a lot of trading on these insurance companies, these catastrophic insurance companies in Florida whenever there's a hurricane, because we've done the math and we figured out that there's a few of these publicly traded insurance companies where if you get a direct Cat 4 or Cat 5 hit on Miami or Fort Lauderdale, right in that zone, direct hit, not scooting up, but direct hit, that there's almost 100% certainty that these insurance companies are going to go bankrupt. And all the people that live in Florida and Miami and Fort Lauderdale that think they have catastrophic insurance actually don't have catastrophic insurance. They will go bankrupt, and they're actually going to lose everything they have. And it's just this thing that nobody talks about. I've spent tremendous time going really deep into this space, and I'm confident these companies are going to go bankrupt if you get a direct hit like that. A direct hit like that has not happened in 100 years. It was like, I don't know, 1914 or 20 when the big Florida, Miami hurricane hit. And every time we have a big hurricane, it looks like it could happen, and it never does. It either scoots up, scoots down, weakens, something always happens. But Puerto Rico did get a direct hit. And there are a whole number of insurance companies that went bankrupt as soon as that happened to Puerto Rico. And this guy I spoke to had a lot of friends in Puerto Rico, spent a lot of time studying Puerto Rico from a place of development. And he ultimately decided not to do anything there because he couldn't trust the insurance market. Because if you're a developer and you're developing, you have to be able to trust the insurance market. Otherwise, your $50 to $100 million, whatever it is, it could go away instantaneously the next hurricane season, right? If it gets blown up. So that's something that we have more work to do on this island project. But just to give you guys, 'cause we don't talk about a lot of our private investments, a lot of our early stage investments on this show, because this channel is a trading channel.
But for the people who do and found us because of our old channel, we kind of talk about, because this is the only place that we have to talk about it, we're going to talk about the island, we're going to talk about other stuff. And Michael wants to know whatever happened to the artificial intelligence laser-guided silver coin machine that we were talking about in some of the later episodes that right before we went off the air. Do you have an update, Chris?
Great question. Well, the coins are still sitting in a box in my garage. We have not yet finished that episode. We will. It will happen. And if you haven't, guys, if you're watching Dumb Money live right now, this show, and you don't realize the history of this channel, this channel started as Dumb Money, not Dumb Money Live. You need to go to youtube.com/Dumb Money and watch all 50 of our regular episodes, which is us running around with our heads cut off, trying to find entrepreneurs and really fun, cool, early stage investments. All 50 of those episodes are freaking awesome. And like, if you have any interest in investing in a startup, that is what we really do, right? Like every day. So please go watch that channel, and we will revive that channel once we're no longer afraid to leave our house.
Whenever we can.
Yeah, whenever we can. So the island development project is still on. There's a lot of exciting stuff. Lynn is down there. Lynn, if you're watching, hello on his yacht. Lynn has Mark, if you're watching, as Lynn's guest on his yacht this week. Hello to you as well. Lynn is actually going to visit our island.
Oh, is he?
On July 5th, I think. He's going to visit our island on July 5th and hopefully take a lot of cool drone footage like he likes to do and a lot of good iPhone footage when he's touring the island. And he'll get a first-hand look at it in person.
Now, is this one that I've actually been to? Is it one that I've taken an excursion to with Lynn?
No.
Okay.
No.
I've seen drone footage of it, and it's beautiful, and it feels like it was a place that I went to one time, but I don't know where I am half the time.
Is definitely one of the most beautiful islands in all the Caribbean. But what's fascinating is I kept asking a question. I have been wanting to vacation for a long time on a remote island, but I don't want to travel across the world. But when I get to that remote island, I want to have like hotel amenities. I want to be, I want to have house, people cleaning my room, and I want room service, and I want to go do all the stuff that you would do at a hotel, but I don't want to be at a big hotel. I want to be at a cool boutique hotel on a niche remote island, and that doesn't exist really in the Caribbean outside of like Necker Island, which Virgin's, Richard Branson owns, but you can't even rent that place because they rent the whole island most of the year for like $300,000-400,000 a week, right? So like, there's only a few weeks a year they'll even let you rent it for a week at a time, one of the houses, and it costs you like $50,000 for the week, but $60,000 for the week. There's like no place to do that, and I always wonder why. And I think part of the reason is you just can't insure stuff. Like you spend the money on a remote island, it gets blown over, and it takes you 5 years to rebuild it, and you can't insure it. So these are all the things that we're learning, and we'll start to talk more about this maybe at the end of our episodes. We'll give you a status update on what we're doing with our private investments.
I can't wait to see where this one goes.
Yeah, it would be cool to have Dumb Money Island, right?
It would. It won't be called that.
No.
It'll have a much more luxurious name.
And the reality is, everything we do, like Lynn really is the person who in our world. And if you watch our old episodes of Dumb Money, you'll meet him.
He must not be watching because I haven't gotten a text.
Yeah, he's probably driving around
underway right now.
And so he's the one in our world who kind of surfaced this. He spends a lot of time in the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and he's the guy that would be down on the island all the time. So he'd be the bigger part of this whole venture, but we'd definitely be along for the ride. All right, anything else left to talk about?
I mean, I think we covered a lot. We haven't yet reminded everyone to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. We haven't reminded them to subscribe, hit the bell, turn on notifications, know when we're on. We haven't told them that we have a podcast. It's on all the podcast formats. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. We haven't told you to follow us on Twitter or on Instagram or on any of those places. So we haven't told you about the Discord server, dumbmoney.tv/Discord. We haven't told you to, we've been watching your comments, but if you're watching the replay of this, comment down below because that's how we can interact with people about this video. We have the Discord server. We have all of these things. So those are the things we haven't yet talked about.
We also haven't told them that we are not their financial advisor, and definitely don't do what we do because your risk tolerance is very, very different from ours. Okay?
You should never trust a guy with a mustache like that with your money.
No, definitely not. Do your own homework. Do your own research. This channel is about learning and entertainment, not about making recommendations for your portfolio. So be very careful. Talk to your own investment advisor or do your own homework on your own investments.
And grow your own mustache.
We have a long holiday weekend ahead of us. Have we even thought about what our Monday show is going to be about?
No.
Well, no. But we'll think up something.
We'll think of something, and we will let you guys know. So that's another reason you have to subscribe, because otherwise you won't even know that we're on Monday. Turn on all those notifications, all of that stuff.
Yes. We'll do something great on Monday.
I was trying to find a picture of Lynn's new yacht, but it looks like his website still has the old one, so we'll share that. We'll definitely show you that on Monday. There's a reason enough to come back, right?
Awesome. All right. Have a wonderful 4th of July.
Stay safe. Happy birthday, America. See you guys.